Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my 4G, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my 4G, got me locked in on cup, though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Ronnar, but Boromant's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to PSGL F3 Season 35, Round 2 at Qatar. I'm Alex, also known as Deflink. I'm one of your commentators for F3. Obviously, I wasn't here last week. I do apologise for everyone. But Josh here on this side, I think. Yep, he's over there. He was here. And Josh, what did happen last week? Obviously, I don't know.
Carnage happened. I cannot express to you. Everything just went out the window, going to the dying laps. Rehards ended up making an absolute tear through the field, making one of the best last lap overtakes I've ever seen around Japan. And you'll have to excuse me if you hear any fireworks coming through, because up here in Stoke, every night's a party apparently. But
it's a celebration.
It's a celebration of Rehards having an absolute worldie. But I can show you very quickly the driver standings, so we can see how they all lined up. We had Rehards winning with Dimas in P2 and Zelenkovic in P3. I'll tell you something, the battle between those three towards that last stint of a race was absolutely phenomenal. So keep an eye out for those lot today. Then we had Oscar, Ewan Lenore, Santa Maria, Camille, who started on pole in that Ferrari but couldn't seem to get the tyres in the right working window. And then we've got Bogdan, Matthew Alder, Sven Schumacher. Rounding out the top 10, rounding out the points. Obviously, slightly different point system here at PSGL in comparison to the traditional F1 points. But moving over to the constructors, might not mean as much, but we can see that just with that win, Alpine with Rehards are currently top. But we can expect a little bit of this to start changing here, there, and everywhere, really, can't we, Alex?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, I just saw the battles for the table for the first time, and it seems like, as you said, we've got a lot to play for in this PSGL season, and we're off to one of my favourite circuits in the world, Qatar. I actually really like driving this circuit. Drivers in real life didn't like driving this circuit this year, and it will be interesting to see how our F3 lot get on today. Track limits are going to be something to look out for, I'm sure. during the race. Obviously, we know how brutal this circuit is, not in just terms of track limits,
It's
but
rough.
physicality as well. It's a rough circuit. It's a real rough circuit in the desert, under the night, and I think any time watching an F1 car go around here is great. Maybe not in terms of racing in real life, but obviously we're not in real life.
Exactly.
We're in the sim, and this is the best you're going to get for F1 racing. So I expect some fireworks here. And we've got fireworks in real life. We've got fireworks in the game.
True.
It's going to kick off shortly.
But I will tell you something. I had a little deep dive into the PSGL history books, and I noticed that the one stop was very, very effective around here. But a couple safety cars came out last week, and I don't feel like we'd be opposed to a couple more coming out this week either. So the prominent strategy which was used at PSGL F1 last season, season 34, was for one stop from the hard to the mediums. And it worked really, really well for a lot of the drivers, but the longer they could take their hard tyres, the medium tyres were so much more effective in the last stint. I'm thinking Nicolas Longuet towards the end. Absolutely phenomenal drive from him there. I'm going to be very interested to see if any of the drivers are going to try and really channel their inner Nicolas Longuet in order just to try and stretch the tyres out just a little bit more.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what strategy they do. Obviously, I quite like doing an alternative strategy for... I'll suggest an outrageous strategy, and it'll work some of the time. You know, I personally go for a two-stop around here. If I was
Chat, I'll let you know, the reason why he does alternative strategies is because he cannot make the hard tyre go quick. He does sub 3 minute lap times barely around Qatar in the hard tyre.
I can't use the hard tyre. I can't get them to warm up, and they just feel awful all the time. So I will, soft, medium. That would be my ideal strategy for this circuit. You got to be and a couple of safety cars will be fabulous.
Yeah,
I mean, really spice up the racing.
There's a clear reason you're not racing in this split, but let's just have a look at the rest of the calendar, see where these drivers are going to be venturing across to over the course of the season. Because I don't believe I've had your opinion on the calendar. But of course we had Japan. First week, we're at Qatar here for week 2, and then we've got Hungary at week 3 before we have the break week off. Just for drivers to recharge the batteries a little bit before we jump over to Vegas, Austria and Monza. So now for the first 6, how's that one feel for you, Alex?
Well, see, Japan is always a banger. It was a banger last weekend, last week as it was, and I always like that circuit. Qatar, as I said, I like it. It's a new circuit. I think it gets a lot of hate for obvious reasons, but I think it's a good circuit in terms of driving, in terms of the race. Hungary, I've never been a fan of it, but for some reason in sim racing, it always seems to deliver good races. I don't know if it's just the undercut power, whatever. We'll see when we get there. Maybe a sprinkle of rain as well.
Because the drivers are starving, mate. I'm telling you. That's why.
That's true. That's really true. And of course, Vegas. We didn't get to go last time in PSGL because of issues with the circuit. This year, we're going to go. And I'm sure it can't be much worse than what Vegas is going to be in real life. So it's going to be fabulous around here.
I just hope it's not going to be like Mexico, where we just see the drivers following one by one. That's my only wish for Vegas. That's it.
It's really hard to overtake around there, so I think it will be tricky to see some proper overtakes unless it's down the main straight. Austria is always a banger, and Monza, of course, the home of the Scuderia Ferrari. Josh's favourite.
Let's go.
And he's either ready to be really happy or really sad at the end of that race. Well, there's no in between.
If Camille's pace from around Suzuka was anything to go by, nabbed the pole by 0.006 seconds over Alexander Dimas, who was in the AlphaTauri, who both of them are here today this week. We've got a couple of reserves here and there. We've got 3 of them filling in for us this week. But we do have the second half of the calendar with Singapore and then the long winter break off so everyone can enjoy the festivities, fill up on some glorious food before we return back to Spain, Miami, Silverstone and Bahrain. Now, I can't tell which side of this calendar I like more, the first 6 or the last 5, because to me, they're pretty good either way.
Yeah, I think all of the tracks are brilliant on this calendar. Obviously, I love Singapore. It's such a driver circuit. You've got to be on it every single lap. Otherwise, you get into a wall. Also, a bit of rain can happen as well. And then Spain has been so much improved since they got rid of that final chicane and made some more changes to it. It's been brilliant. Miami's always interesting, I want to say. That's the best thing I can say about Miami. I've never been a fan of it personally, but I think it's a good circuit. Obviously, we know Silverstone, home of British motorsport. Everyone loves that circuit. And we round out with Bahrain. Not either one of us enjoy that circuit, but you know what? It deserves its place on the calendar.
Do you know why it deserves its place on the calendar, Alex?
Ooh, tell me, Josh. Why does it deserve its
It is
place?
the only circuit on the current Formula One calendar which has an FIA health and safety regulation certificate, awarding itself for the brilliant facilities around the circuit. It's yeah. When we discovered that one, we did try and have a look for any others. Paul Ricard's junior circuit has one, but Paul Ricard doesn't. Interesting, I know.
It
but
is interesting.
be
Yeah,
one of
for
those.
safety and facilities, I think it was for. I wonder if it's still valid to this day.
Yeah, I can't see why not. I mean, they seem to do a pretty good job with.
Yeah, I think facilities-wise.
Yeah, especially with the Roman incident, they were right on it, weren't they?
Yeah. Right. Actually, to be fair, joking apart, they were right on that.
Yeah.
But it was just the actual leading up to the barriers maybe shouldn't have been where they were. I'm not a fan of Armco barriers.
Well, we're not here to judge the construction of Bahrain. Although I will mention, WEC's over there at the minute, and it started getting a little bit wet, and there's a little bit of rain at Bahrain. Yeah, very odd. Very odd to see the cars go out for testing, but yeah, I'm not a fan of looking at it when it's raining there. It's not normal, but
I can imagine it's odd. Yeah, that must be an odd feeling.
thankfully we're in the desert at a normal time of the season at PSGL. So hopefully Qatar's going to be nice and dry, and we'll be able to see the full potential of these drivers going around what I'm just going to call, a motorbike circuit. Because in all honesty, it is. It is a MotoGP circuit, and
Yeah.
I don't feel like the cars should necessarily be racing around here, but they are, and somehow they've managed to find space on the track. I'm not opposed to it. As we see Nathan Richards hopping in. No bruises today. No, I've not fell over and bumped my neck, my head, my ankle, or my elbow. I'm healthy.
When did you do that?
Last week, I got in a fight with a vampire, fell down a flight of stairs. Not great.
It was Halloween.
It was Halloween, and it hurt. Stairs hurt, guys. Stay away from stairs.
Vampires, on the other hand, are fine.
Oh yeah, that's
If you-
fine.
Yeah, vampires are chill. It's the
Yeah.
stairs you got to worry about.
Go get the garlic mayo dip from Domino's and just
Oh, that's so good.
start chasing them. But yeah, so hopefully we're going to be able to get underway very shortly, because we do seem to have a full grid of drivers. I'm seeing one or two people ready up slightly impatiently, but of course we've got to get to that 10 mark for him to all get going. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Alex doesn't know. He's too innocent. He's too young to understand what falling downstairs means. It's because he lives in a bungalow. Yeah, that's right. I'm doxing you, Alex. What are you going to do about it?
I don't. I have stairs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've just never seen them, so they
Wait,
don't
hang
exist.
on. My brain's working now. I'm trying to. Oh, I might.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, I got you. I got you now. Yeah.
Yeah, are you sure you have stairs?
You
At
owe
your
someone a
house?
favour. That's what you're talking about.
Sure, okay. Sure, I'll owe my friend a flight of stairs. But yeah, we got...
Imagine owing someone a flight of stairs. Sorry, we're getting off topic.
Yeah,
It's
we're
just-
going on
this
the
happens.
ramble. But Jess is in the chat there as well, saying, welcome back, Alex. You don't need to welcome him back. He doesn't deserve it.
No, I don't.
No,
I missed.
absolutely not. Sacrificial lamb. That's what we're going to call you.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's try and get more focus back onto Qatar. So, obviously, you've got the prime overtaking opportunities around turn 1, turn 4, and potentially turn 10 as well. I've seen a couple very, very late moves going down to the inside, being very, very cheeky. But they've been able to pull off the move and get it done and sorted there. So, I'm not ruling turn 10 out, but I recommend probably turn 1 for the best overtaking opportunity. And then you've just got to hold on to get to turn 4. And just as soon as you hit that turning in point, you're fine. You're good. Because no car will want to go too wide there. Because if you get forced off, you end up getting a track warning on either the inside or the outside of the circuit. So it's kind of a rough one. It's very similar to what we see around Mexico sometimes. It's track limits. There's something else. And I will say this is probably one of the better circuits for track limits.
Which is saying something.
Being enforced like correctly, but at the same time, you enforce them correctly. Some people might say they're very harsh, others might say it's alright, but it's just one of those, and it changes and differs from person to person. But we did already mention the hard to medium strategy that a lot of these teams are going to be trying to go for. So, to give you guys an idea of the sort of pace difference we're talking about between the tyre compounds, we have the soft tyre, which will do the standard lap time. But then you got the mediums, which are about 0.7 seconds of a lap slower. And then it comes down to the hard tyre from the medium, right, which are about 1 second a lap slower than the mediums. So there's a drastic fall off. So we could potentially see some of these back runners towards the rear of the grid. Maybe just trying to change it up a bit. Try and go for that soft tyre and get 1.7 seconds of a lap advantage based off of tyre grip here. Because we know how important the tyre life is. We saw it last week. And Qatar is going to be absolutely no different because the amount of lateral loads going through the cars, going through those fast sections, it can be very, very tough on the car, and it's even tougher on the tyres as well.
Yeah, well, what I've done here in the past is, actually joking apart, I haven't done a two-stop strategy. What I tend to do is go soft-medium.
Okay.
So you can do... Softs will last about 16 laps, as long as you're chasing someone. So if you're behind someone, and you're right behind them, and you're keeping good pace with them, you'll catch them because slipstream is king in this game. As long as you're in slipstream, you're with someone, no matter what. So box lap 16 for a set of medium tyres, and then you can push right to the end of the race.
I thought you just crashed out in your races. I didn't know you got no pit stop phase, right?
Well, that particular race I'm talking about, I had already spun.
Oh,
but it wasn't my fault.
Oh, no, of course it wasn't Alex.
I dive up the inside of someone in the final flat section, and they turn in on me. So what can I do?
It clearly turned in on you. It's rough. Is it a race now? I have missed a bit. Callum, we're just about to get into the qualifying session.
Yep.
And need I remind you that the top 8 drivers from last week were all within a tenth of a qualifying session around Suzuka. It's tough.
In Suzuka?
Podcast is... Yeah. It was Suzuka last week, Alex.
Well, no, I know, but I mean, in Suzuka, like a circuit like this, which is basically it's just he's going to be even closer,
even tighter, exactly.
Yeah.
But enough of the podcast, as Richie's calling it. I think you've seen our faces enough, so let's get you going for a little bit of PSGL action here. There we go. Hold on. Give it a moment. Give it a moment. Give it a moment.
It builds up.
Give it a moment.
It's a build up.
There we go. Lovely stuff. As we can see, some of the cars coming out, and I believe that might be our other Alpine of Lillian coming out of the pits there, and that's something these drivers are going to have to really start picking up on here, because you did say slipstream is key, but the use of the ERS around here, it burns out before you end up crossing the line, so it'll be down to the drivers to be able to manually deploy it and really try and figure out their way around the circuit and to know where to deploy it to try and get the most amount of time possible. As we've got another visitor in the chat, Mr. George Morgan. Hello there, my good friend. How you doing?
Hi, George.
Hi, George.
How you doing? All right, mate.
Oh,
Hope
yes.
you enjoy this absolute. Well, it's been a great start. We've absolutely talked our way through this already.
We've rambled, but we don't need to ramble anymore because we do have the Aston Martin leading the field here, and I just want to say, how many drivers do you reckon are going to be within a 10th here? Because we had 8 last week. I think we might be pushing towards a 10 mark here today.
I was going to say 15.
15, mate. That's very optimistic. That's all I'm going to say. Optimistic.
Yeah, but you've got to be optimistic. If I aim high and don't reach it, then I know I've achieved worse.
Mate, you're talking some absolute raucous, my friend.
My analogies never really pay off how I think they're going to, did I? Mate, it's good to be back.
I don't think you think about your analogies before you start talking about them.
That's the issue.
Someone who is definitely thinking on their feet here is Lillian, who's decided to jump past the Aston Martin just in order to get that clean bit of air just in front. Going for a little dart here and there, just making sure those tyres are up to temp, because the tyre temps around here are key. That's what's going to be able to save you if you nurture your tyres through that first sector and the first part of that second sector. When it comes to the third sector, those tyres are going to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and let's see what they can do on this flying lap. Obviously, it's you have a slight braking zone into turn 1, and then you're back on the throttle. Through this whole section, through 1, 2, and 3, you're basically just keeping your foot planted to the floor, and really looking good through that first section there. To be honest with you, it's not very difficult at all, but you can be so... It's so easy to go over track limits, as we mentioned. If you just go even slightly over track limits, it could be your lap done. You can see just there through turns 4 and 5, you can see the light flashing on the back of Lillian's car. Basically, that means they were charging the battery again because they don't want to use all their battery up during the lap, as Josh, you were just mentioning. So clearly they found the sweet spot of where not to use ERS, and it looks to be going well so far.
I mean, I would obviously point out the purple sector 1, purple sector 2, but obviously they are the first driver to go for the sectors, so all of them are going to be purple. So I suppose on a silver lining for this, no matter how quick Lillian goes in this lap, it'll be the fastest lap of the session we've had so far. But you can see flicking the car in on 6th gear, just running it out just that little bit wide, and that's going to be the real key for a lot of these drivers here, is that horrible, horrible exit you can get there. It's so rough to know that the track limits can be destroyed so close to the end of lap, but it still gives them enough time to be able to jump back into the pits, which is key. As we see Jane coming across the line with a 120.1, and I'm sure we're going to see these lap times fall off the face of planet Earth, and it really wouldn't surprise me if we end up getting into the low 119s.
You think low 119?
Maybe.
I was thinking of 119 something, but yeah, competitive lap times already. 109 for Bogdan. Is that correct? Yes,
It is Bogdan.
Let me just preface something. If you haven't seen one of my streams before with Josh, I struggle with pronouncing names. If I do pronounce someone's name wrong of your favorite driver, I do apologize. Josh will correct me and tell me how to say it correctly. I will eventually get used to saying people's names. So Leo, put it on poll. 119.9 at the moment, a provisional poll. So already into the 119s. I think your prediction of a low 119 could be what we're seeing, but that's an incredible lap time.
Yeah, I'm going to just count as a low 119, anything sub 0.5. Okay, that's what I'm going to take back from this. As we go, Timur Zelenkovic as well coming across there in P2 in the Mercedes, and Rihard's coming across P3. Now, this is the sort of gaps we were kind of looking at last week before everyone ended up closing in and just deploying that little bit of battery. I don't know whether it was just watching the other drivers and just changing the racing lines ever so slightly last week around Suzuka, but it could still work here as well. Just being able to understand where some drivers are going to be able to pick up a little bit more time, see how much curb they're using, and really just try and manhandle the car to manage itself on the curbs without losing out too much time. That's where a lot of this time is going to be found around a circuit such as this, because although the circuit looks really, really flat from these, external cameras, it's actually got quite a bit of elevation through it.
But the other thing is, there's not really that many heavy braking zones on the circuit. There's is it 4 maximum heavy braking zones on the circuit? I think it's even less than that. Like the first corner isn't heavy. Turn 6 is heavy.
1, 4, 6.
1, 4, 6 and 16? 16 heavy? Final corner?
I wouldn't necessarily say so.
It's really judgmental, really, to be honest with you. But yeah, as you can say, there's not really a lot of places you can find time. I'm sure these drivers will, because these are the 20 almost best drivers in the world, pretty much. That's where they want to be. So these guys are insanely fast. Josh could only hope to be as fast as these guys, and we'll see what they can do. But low 119. I think we'll see it.
Potentially, as we see Lillian about to go for another lap here, ensuring they get such a wide berth into that final corner to try and carry the maximum amount of apex speed, coming back down on the main straight. And now this is where the ERS would eventually run out, but we've already seen Lillian's decided to start harvesting at the end of that first sector, knowing exactly where to cut off the battery deployment, just so they can end up keeping that battery just for that main straight, because without it, you're losing 2 or 3 temps, so maybe that's what we're seeing some of the drivers not necessarily realise, not turning off their battery for these critical parts here, as we come and flicking the car through for this double right-hander. It's just the way these cars just grip to the circuit. It's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love watching it, but managing to navigate its way through turn 6 there, pushing it all the way up here into this long-winded right-hander, trying just to use all of the track limits on the left, pushing it all the way through to the right, keep it to the right-hand side before flicking the car back into the left, going out in 4th gear and just running it wide, coming back over to the left, just trying to cut out the distance throughout the rest of this grid. It's really a technical circuit. There's so much time you could lose just by lifting just in the wrong place occasionally, as we're going to see the gear shift down into 6th, revving the car out, ensuring, trying to keep it within the boundaries, but just not enough as well. Just a little snap, causing Lillian having to turn the car right just to correct it, and end up running over the white lines there, invalidating the lap time. It's rough.
It was rough. That was a breathtaking lap there. That was great. But as you said, literally just one small snap and you're out track limits. No matter what you can do, there is obviously you can do certain things if you slightly let off the throttle before you go out of track limits and come back on. It won't count as the track limits violation, but of course it loses you time. And when we're dealing with such small margins, like a tenth at the moment between, well, we've got 2/10 separating the top 8, we've got 5/10 separating the top 12, and these are not competitive lap times from a lot of these guys. These guys are going to get faster and faster. We're going to see people probably matching that 1:19.9 of Leo. We're going to see them beating it. We're going to see them all. We're going to see everyone doing it. It's also nice to see a full grid, isn't it? Full 20 drivers on this grid. This is what we want to see every weekend. I'm sure you had it last weekend as well.
Yeah, of course we do. We don't disappoint here at F3. 20 drivers every week. What can I say? But of course, this week we do have a couple of reserves in. But regardless, I'm sure they're going to be trying to push their absolute limits. I believe we had a reserve in PCF2 which managed to bag second place last week. So just because we're a reserve doesn't mean we're slow. That's something you got to watch out for. But someone else who definitely wasn't slow last week was Camille in the Ferrari. Ended up bagging the pole position by the narrowest of margins. Now, it's currently sitting 0.167 off of the pole time. We know Camille can do it over one lap around Suzuka. But around Qatar, I would love to say it's just, a completely different circuit and it might not be able to translate, but I feel like they are very, very similar in a lot of aspects. I'd say the only real thing Suzuka has on Qatar, it's just got one or two more heavy braking zones.
Yeah, and that's basically it, to be honest with you. They're both fast-flowing circuits. Obviously, the first sector for Suzuka is very similar to the first sector for Qatar in way of basically it's so flowing and you don't really have to press the brake at all at certain sections. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes for everyone. Again, another track limits in violation there for Bogdan. Just so easy to lose the rear end or maybe just run it a bit wide thinking, okay, right, I'm going to get away with this one, and obviously you're not going to, unfortunately. So is this Alexander Dimas? Is that how you say it?
Indeed it is. It's Dimas, the one who was 0.006 off of the pole last week. And bagging the P2 in the race due to a very, very unfortunate last lap overtake where he did kind of get mugged off going down into turn 1.
Heartbreaking.
It absolutely was, but I had a little talk. Said he was looking forward to trying mount a challenge because he knows he's got the pace and he knows he's got something to work on. As we've got George saying it's the former intrepid goat Camille Statura.
Statua? Is that how you say it?
Statura?
Statura?
Yeah, I'll say that's how we say it.
Yeah, it's almost correct.
George, you're saying former. Still the goat. Able
He's
to bag in
P5
a pole
right
lap
now.
time.
Yeah.
Currently P5. Gonna go quicker. There's 9 more minutes left of this session. 6 now, I believe. So, it's quick. It's quick. And it's only going to get quicker. And that's one of the joys about this circuit is the track evolution builds it up more and more. As 610 Lindhart comes across, nagging back into P2. As we're going to see Dimas crossing the line, taking P2 back. We're going to see all these drivers just slowly file it through. Oh, Camille as well.
Oh my god.
What is it? What is it with 0.006s?
The gaps. We have retirement.
Milan Mayer retiring in the pits as Rihards ends up getting back to the sort of form we saw last time as Valentino. I'll tell you, this is where it's going to start going. This is where the drivers are going to end up pumping in the lap times and it's just going to all come falling down.
It's all spicy.
Exactly. As Lillian here looking to still try and get a lap on the board. Had 2 invalidations. Thankfully, there's enough time just to try and sneak in 4 laps here. But it will be very, very cutthroat towards the end. And you've got to push on that in lap just to make sure that you're able to get the job done, let's say. But Lillian looking here to try and make another crack at it.
Yeah, hopefully they can on this occasion. 2 invalidations in a row. Let's not make it the hat trick. That's not what you want in this situation. We're not playing football right now. We're playing F1 and you don't want a hat trick of invalidations. So Lillian, once again, through that first sector, looking smooth again. We've got some yellow flags in the background. Nothing to worry about for Lillian. It wouldn't affect their lap. Through the right hand and now just keeping it nice and steady into one of the heavy braking zones. But again, it's not really that heavy because you get on the throttle so quickly after pressing the brakes. So now into what I believe is turn 7. into a very sharp right-hander, and then once again running it wide on these curbs, using as much of the track as possible without invalidating into the swinging left-hander and get the power back on now. And now through this whole section, you're not really going to press the brakes. You may press it once or twice, but let's see how much speed you can pull through here, holding it in 7th gear, just feathering the throttle now through the left-hander that Lillian has messed up not once, not twice, but will it be 3 times? No. This occasion they make it through. 1 corner to go. The right-hander, you got to just weave it through the right-hander and back down the main straight. Still some ERS to play with. DRS wide open. And what lap time can they produce? They cross the line now, and it puts them P4. They had the pace, and clearly they had the lap in them. It just took them 3 attempts to get it done.
Oh, I'll tell you something.
Oh,
sorry, Ewan. Come on.
Out of nowhere.
Okay, right, sure. Yeah, we'll take that.
98.
Why not? I'll tell you something else about we might end up having to just keep an eye out for is these drivers are still on a lap and they're just having to come back into the pits, trying to just get those tyres switched out as soon as possible, because the last thing I want to do is be traffic for the drivers who are currently in the pits waiting to come out for their last lap. And that's going to be the key point that these drivers are going to have to really push on this in-lap and maybe scrub these tyres up a little bit more just to make sure they can get back and follow the train. Because as you said before, slipstream's king in this game. And whichever driver is able to follow close enough through that second sector to get the benefit of a tow going down the main straight
we'll win. We'll simply win.
Will more than likely gain, a couple hundredths. Not even tenths, just a couple hundredths of a lap time out of it. But that could be very much be the difference between P6 and P1 here.
Yeah, well, let's look at the grid right now. We've got, 5 tenths separating the top 18. We've got 2 tenths separating the top 11. 3 tenths separating the top 15. It's absolute maddening. We've got less than a tenth separating the top 6. Oh,
I'll tell you.
You want to take a prediction? Go on.
Oh,
I'm
going to say Rehards. I'm gonna follow what Richie was saying in chat. Richie predicted Rehards would win last week, and he did so. So I'm sticking with Rehards here. What about yourself?
Where are they right now?
Currently in P2.
In P2 Rehards. Sorry, I'll probably pronounce that as Richards at some point because my eyes will just flash onto it and read it as Richards. But it's Rehards.
It's okay.
I do apologise.
It's not intentional
To everyone. It's not intentional. I wouldn't do it on purpose. A 5-place grid penalty for
lobby restart. Let's go.
Yes. Get in there, son.
We get to go and have a look at what these drivers are typing to one another after this qualifying session, because I can imagine there's going to be a lot of GGs in the chat between them.
If that needs explaining quickly for anyone, basically there's a feature with the game at the moment where if you get stuck behind someone when they're slowing down on a lap and it's under yellow flags, you'll be considered as illegal blocking, giving you a 5-place grid drop. But of course in PSGL we restart lobbies, so the feature doesn't affect our racing.
Yeah, got a little message from Jan in the YouTube chat saying that Frenek can probably put a 0.6 in. So Frenek should just be up there as well. So there's very, very few people on this grid who aren't in for a shout at pole.
We're going to get a harassed situation.
I'll tell you what. In the chat, please let us know your predictions for who you think's going to be able to walk away on pole. Or I'll tell you what, maybe even a front row if you feel like brave enough to make 2 predictions.
Predict top 15.
I'll tell you what, predict the top 19, because we know 20th is Milan, unfortunately. Well, but, yeah, okay.
D-Masters first. Here we go. Let's see what he can do. So, through turn 1 we go. We're going to ride on board with the AlphaTauri driver, and you can just see the concentration in these drivers' steering wheel. You can see just the slight turns on the wheel, nothing too major, just enough to fling it into the corners. It's just absolutely breathtaking watching these Formula 1 cars drive around this circuit. Like, old cars would never dream of doing it at that speed, but here we are with our downforce. Downforce is king in this year's Formula 1. And through the right hand, they're running it in 5th gear, which is a bit lower than I've seen a few other drivers go through that corner, but clearly it's working for him. And right on the edge of track limits there, and over it. And that is a lap time validation. 20 seconds to get to the line. I think that's D-Mass's qualifying over with.
Yeah, it does look very much that way unless he's able to teleport back to the main straight almost immediately. But I'll tell you someone who's just behind on the circuit. It's Mr. Lund. Leo Lund had a fantastic race yesterday in another league that I was commentating on.
Oh.
Okay, I'm just not going to talk positive about these drivers.
Why have our car cursed so quick?
It's okay. Jane's coming through here in the Aston Martin.
Jay, you got this.
Okay, for a moment I thought that was going to be track limits, but no. Jane's going to come back through onto the line, ensuring still no flashing light. Nailed that almost perfectly. Gets up into P5. We've got the other AlphaTauri, that Valentino coming through. I believe we've got the Mercedes of Bogdan as well, jumping all the way up into P1. And then I believe we might have Lundhart there as well, who's made a little jump back up into 6th place there. But these lap times are just going to keep falling down. Rehard's 0.01 off. I'll tell you something. Kamel, once again, comes through in the clutch moments as Ewan ends up retiring from the session. But let's just say, that's not over because we still have Lillian on a lap. Got purple sector 2. 0.07 up on their PB. It might all be over. They've nailed that corner. They've kept it within the track limits. This is looking very, very good for Lillian here. Bringing it through that final corner, using all the track width possible. Now it'll just be depending on how much ERS is left in that tank. Still being deployed. Runs out slightly before the end of the line there. But I do believe that was P5 for Lillian. P5. Absolutely fantastic job there. And again, another brilliant qualifying. I don't feel like we could have asked for much more.
Nope. And the top, well, what did we say? Top 15 was in, well, the top 7 is in a 10th of each other. It's
a joke. It's just a joke. Guys, slow down. But to run you through this qualifying order, we have Camille in first, Bogdan P2, Rehard's P3, Franek in P4, Lily in P5, Ewan P6, Jack Humphries P7, Leo in P8, Valentino P9, 610 in P10. I don't like saying that one. P11 Jane, P12 Santa Maria, P13 Dimas, P14 Adler, P15 Zelenkovic, P16 Tony Roche, P17 Lefted, P18 Wilson Hall, P19 Laminen, and P20 Mayer. But, oh my word. Looks like we will be having a lobby restart, but I will just need to confirm that one on the Discord really quickly with the drivers.
Yes.
But
because we don't want to miss a start of a race. Who would do that?
No, imagine missing a start of a race. That'd be silly. But yes, we are getting a restart. It's being confirmed. Lovely
it makes
stuff.
sense.
But I feel like there was something just special about that qualifying session. Now I can't tell whether it's because some of the drivers may or may not be using, you know, different equipment to one another and feel more comfortable at certain points in time. But do you know what I would feel most comfortable in?
Is it some sort of chair?
It is some sort of chair, and it might just very well be the title sponsor for Season 35 here at PSGL. And it's come all the way back to us now. I don't know. It's just something about those chairs. They look so comfortable.
I wish we could have some.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if we ask nice enough, we might be able to get a cheeky little discount code. If only there was a way in order to get, you know, a couple pennies off of one of those chairs. Maybe you guys should check the description. See if there's some sort of PSGL special code you guys could use in order to get a discount on your setup. But lobby is getting restarted, and it does mean that we've got a little bit of time to kill before the custom grids. So, I said before, Camille, very quick, ended up being able to snatch the pole. I didn't personally see that one coming.
Back-to-back poles.
I know. It's
correct.
What is it about Ferraris being able to get pole position but not being able to win the race? Maybe this is Camille's time. Right?
Maybe it is. It's one of those things that, unlike in real life, Ferrari can't mess this strategy up. So it has to be. It's just one of those things that, you know. Also, the Ferrari isn't hard on its tires like it is in real life. The best thing about those strategies are when you put a Ferrari that's hard on its tires on a one-stop strategy.
I'll tell you something as well. It'll be very, very interesting to see how Bogdan takes this first couple turns, because he started on the front row next to the Ferrari.
Send it, Bogdan. That's what I do.
I'm just saying, yeah, but there's a reason you're not racing it here. PSGL in F3 is because you would send it and you'd end up kamikazing about 2 or 3 cars off the track.
It's
which,
not true.
Mate, we've raced together. I've seen.
If I was on the front row, I wouldn't kamikaze. I was only kamikazing one per driver.
Oh yeah, me. But enough about me being absolutely smashed all the way down to someone. We did have a lobby restart because of a slight bug with the game.
No feature.
No, it's a bug.
It's a feature.
Causing one of the drivers to get a 5-place grid penalty, which isn't really valid due to everyone being on a outlap. So we decided to reset the lobby in order to kind of alter and just get rid of the penalty. But fingers crossed we'll be able to get into the racing shortly because a lot of the drivers have already joined the lobby, which is always a good start.
Yeah. Well,
last week it took about 16 minutes. So
exactly. Were you counting? Is that what you were? Well, luckily I'm
every single second.
If it did, I am the master of rambling, so I'd be covering off the time that we need, so it's fine. But yeah, no, insane qualifying session. Yes. I know you said it was going to be close, but I didn't think it was going to be as close as it was. No, I think every driver was at least within a second of each other. It might have been less than that.
Yeah, the entire field was covered by 6 tenths.
By 6/10 of a second. I can't. Can you think of a qualifying session that's ever been like that in real life?
No, I can think about last week around Suzuka, which was very close as well. But
yeah,
it's just the level of skill these drivers bring to the table.
Well, exactly.
There's a reason we're in F3, and they are all just so talented. At, being able to manipulate the car and get it to really do what it wants. I just find it very fascinating how they're able to do that. Because all of them have slightly different driving styles, and you'll be able to notice if we ride on board. Take, for example, Lillian was riding on board with. When we ended up going to DMAS, you could see DMAS was a lot happier, just letting his wheel sit a little looser in his hands and letting the force feedback kind of guide him through that first sector, while Lillian tended to not use as much or maybe have a further grip on the wheel and just making sure that car is nailed on straight. I mean, it's all these slight little differences which happen between all the drivers throughout the course of the season. The slight little changes and altercations they make between the entire race. It's fascinating. I just love watching it.
But the best thing about it is everyone can drive how they want to, and still we're all so close together. That's the best thing. That's the best thing about sim racing, yes. Is that you can drive however you fancy it, and if you're quick enough, you'll be with the fast drivers. I know I've said Will Buxton there, but it's okay. I'm just trying to, it's just shout out to Will, big fan.
Yeah, we know.
He's watching, big fan. Do you know?
No, that's Mr. Morgan, not Mr. Buxton.
Oh, it's Morgan. Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry, Morgan. But put us in contact. Yeah. But
man.
But yeah, no, I am looking forward to this race. I'm looking forward to strategies. I'm looking forward to people saving fuel, because we haven't mentioned that about this circuit. Because there's about 1 or 2 heavy braking zones on the circuit. You drain fuel like no one's business. You will be out of fuel within a few laps if you don't fuel up correctly or save. So safety cars will be big for that if people haven't fueled correctly.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to be huge. Just to give you guys a quick little run through here, we do have a track map here, and I'm just gonna give it a little pause here when we end up getting the DRS zone, so you can see the first detection point just before that final corner, meaning that if they end up dive bombing, there's a little bit of DRS chicken which could be played, because you do only have that one DRS zone, but throughout the course of the lap, it'll be down to the drivers to really try and find those opportune braking points. Looking at turn 10 and turn 6 especially, because they're so wide. They're used to the motorbikes being able to go 2 or 3 wide going through there. There's enough space to be able to try and get a better drive out going up the hill through turn 11 and just getting the inside for turn 12 out of turn 10. That'll be one of the key parts, and it'll be very interesting to see how they're going to be able to manage and take this first lap in comparison to what we would normally see in maybe a more casual league or something like that. But of course, This is PSGL F3. None of these drivers are here to be casual. All of them want to win, and that's the beauty of it, because all these drivers have the ability to.
You got to be. Sorry, there's no real point to win it. Sorry, my voice just completely went. But yeah, if you're not here to win it, you're not what's the point of racing? Like, as Senna once said, if you're not first, you're last. Pretty much. So
pretty much.
Pretty much. That's the exact quote. That's what it's underneath Senna.
With a pretty much afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went down.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I'm not fact-checking you on that one, but I can tell you that the drivers have all readied up, and we've got a bit of friendly banter in the drivers' chat at the minute, saying just to make sure to please be polite when people overtake each other. Because
Give them a wave.
Come on. Last time a driver gave someone a wave when they was getting past it was probably Lando Norris on Daniel Ricciardo at Monaco, giving him the lap.
Oh god.
Yeah,
When he was
that one
lapped.
caused a bit of uproar, didn't it? But
People were very upset with that. They
I
were
was
really
very
upset.
upset with it, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you something
Poor
that
Ricciardo.
you can move on from. That'll be our beautiful faces. You'll be able to see them again at the end of a race, but don't feel like you guys really mind that much about it. But we can show you the beautiful pit lane. Now, the pit lane here is probably one of the, definitely in the bottom 3 of my favourite ones on this game, purely because of how tight it is when you try and carry as much speed as possible in. Because if you end up just taking it slightly wrong, you can clip your rear end plate off so easily, and then boom, all of a sudden your pit stop's gone from 2 seconds to 7 seconds. It's not great.
Well, they've changed it in real life, haven't they? It's
Yeah.
not the same pit lane now in real life because it was really quite bad. Because again, it's for MotoGP cars, not for Formula 1 cars.
MotoGP
Sorry.
cars.
So MotoGP bikes, Jesus, MotoGP bikes.
Honestly.
But yeah, I know, fake fan.
But yeah, no, it's so tough in order to try and carry the speed in perfectly. But I do believe
here we
we've
go.
got the 5 red lights here, ready for round 2 at PSGL, and they're underway. As we can see, Camille here getting a great start, covering off the inside, just making sure Bogdan doesn't really have an opportunity to try and make a move there. But we'll notice the car slightly further behind, going too wide. They're going to have to end up narrowing it down all the way down to a 1 file before they end up getting to turn 4. Otherwise, they could find themselves in a little bit of trouble. But let's have a look at the tyre compounds. Everyone started on a hard compound of tyre. And look at that raggle of cars back there, going 3-4 wide. All of them are going to have to simmer down, as we've got a bit of contact there in the back as well. I believe that's Wilson Hall who's gone off the track. But we've got a lot of drivers trying to come back on. And there's so much carnage going on there. My word. Alex, can you please try and run us through what on earth is happening back there?
I have no idea. It's all go. Oh, it's a car in the wall. It's a retirement.
Go, it's a safety
Right,
car.
man. And it's a safety car on lap 1. Well, that will let us simmer the tension down a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, so turns out going about 7 wide around Qatar doesn't end as well as you might think. But those drivers were really pushing on the opening lap. But yeah, as we said, the start for, is it Camille? Is that correct? Camille was absolutely perfect, covering off Bogdan. Bogdan just didn't get the greatest launch. Of course, they're all on the hard tyre, so you're all going to get very similar launches because of the way the grip of the tyre works. So it was a good start from our pole sitter, and I imagine we're not going to see anyone dive into the pits unless they've got damage. I did see front wings go flying in the background, so we'll keep an eye on exactly whose front wings went flying.
There was quite a bit, and I believe we've got a couple of drivers going in there. We've got Tima Lefted, Wilson Laminen, Dimas, Antonio Roche, and that's very, very unfortunate for Alexander Dimas because we know he's got the pace. So this is exactly what I'm talking about with the pit lane.
He's overtaken in he's done a Sebastian Vettel.
He's done a Sebi Vettel. It didn't take long at all, FRL Charlie, at all, but it's one of those. If you're setting a medium compound tyres on when I believe Wilson's gone for a soft compound behind there. Very interesting. Maybe
Do you think this is going to be another safety car?
Yeah, and after watching what just happened in Sector 1, it wouldn't surprise me if we do get another safety car. Because these drivers are racing like it's a final lap of the entire season, let alone the first lap of the second round here at PSGL F3. But it's one of those problems, isn't it? You either risk it all or you end up backing out, and then you end up being more of a problem for the drivers behind you. Sometimes it is best just to try and keep your nose in, but of course, keep your nose in for too long, these sort of accidents happen. But these drivers are going to be catching back up to the back of the field. And I'll tell you something. The big tyre differential between those mediums and soft tyres in comparison to the hards is going to be absolutely huge.
Exactly. That's the interesting thing now about this race. Obviously, safety car. It's a shame we've got a safety car so early on, and obviously, hopefully the Ivan crash wasn't too bad. It didn't look awful from the back of the shot we had. So I don't know exactly what happened. Obviously, that's not for us to decide. Thank God. Thank God I'm not a steward, eh? Because everything would be a racing incident if I was. But it's going to be interesting now. These guys are basically out of sync with the rest of the field. They all had a strategy they were originally set on. Now they've changed their strategy. It'll be interesting to see which of these drivers will really go for it. Because obviously now they're on the mediums and the softs. You've got to push basically now. you got to make a two-stop work, because this is a two-stop strategy at this point, pretty much. You're not going to make those mediums last to the end of the race.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are. It's not going to happen.
They're going to have to duck it back into the pits and probably set on another set of hard tyres, I reckon, just to be able to last and just to ensure that when it gets to lap 27, 28, and 29, those tyres are still going to be fine. But the safety car is going to continue around for another lap, so looks like we might be getting a little bit of an interesting...
Wilson's gone back in the pits.
Very interesting. I'll tell you what,
What's
let's have a look at what Wilson's doing.
Was the softs... I bet he's putting his hards back on.
Surely not. No? Yes! Yeah. Put the hard tyres back on there for Wilson.
It's a brand new set. It's a fresh set of hard tyres.
Interesting. So is Wilson going to try
That gets rid of his pit stop.
Is he going to try and drag these tyres out to the end of a race?
I would imagine so. This is what we're going with now.
I've heard crazy strategies, but yeah.
So just to explain what Wilson's done if people don't know exactly. So Wilson's pitted, I imagine he's got damage as well. He's pitted onto a set of soft tyres, and then he's gone back into the pits to set on to a set of hards again. He started on the hard tyre. You have to use 2 different compounds in a race in a race to complete your mandatory pit stops. So he's basically pitted, put on a set of softs, decided that, oh, I can make these hards go to the end, come back in for a set of hard tyres, and now he's going to try and do 25 laps on hard tyres to the end of the race. But again, if he can stay out, stay at constant pace, stay with the pack, and again, if he ends up in the lead and then say there's a safety car, he can box and get a new set of tyres on, or he can just go to the end of the race and it's down to other drivers to catch him.
Now, it could be a stroke of genius, but my only worry is that Wilson's going to end up getting caught up with a lot of these cars in front who are on the soft compounded tyres. They'll be looking to try and make moves, but obviously, the more you try and make an overtake, the more time you'll eventually end up losing. And if Wilson's stuck behind him in a little bit of a DRS train, it could spell doom for Wilson's idea for trying to hang out on these hard tyres for the rest of the race. But Camille is going to be leading the pack away. The safety car's pulled off. It'll be about to hop into the pit lane, and then it'll be ready to go by the time we end up hitting the first safety car line. But Camille, Bogdan, Rehards, and Lillian are the top 4. Seeing 2 Alpines in there. You know, they worked together last week as well. It's a point I didn't really mention too much on, but they were working together brilliantly, ensuring to carry the DRS and save each other's ERS throughout the race. So, very interesting to see if anything like that happens again. But look at how slow Camille's going. Camille wants to back this field up badly.
This is a proper backing up of a safety car. Not even going on that final corner, just waiting. Doesn't want to just tow someone down the back straight, and I can totally understand that. There's a bit of a gap forming there as well. Got to keep up with the pack, because again, around this circuit, if you lose pack, there's a bit of barging going on in the background, and Camille's still waiting, waiting.
Oh,
I remember he's gone and absolutely caught Bogdan napping, and it's going to open the door for Rahards to get up the inside here, down the inside into turn 1. He's still got a wheel in, and he's going to get an exit, but the inside turns to the outside line, and unfortunately he's going to get squeezed out. Oh no, he's going to fight it all the way around the outside, and he's made the move past Bogdan. But not only that, Lillian's made a move as well, and Lillian's up into 3rd. It's an Alpine 2-3 at the moment. That's teamwork right there between those 2 drivers, working absolutely spectacular. Bogdan was caught napping there. He's been caught into turn 6, has he? And he has, and they're going wheel to wheel. Once again, this is a place that you shouldn't really be going wheel to wheel anymore. And surely, Frank is it Frank? I think it's Frankie to back out of that one. So
Franek, Franek had to back out of it.
Franek, yeah.
You don't want to go too wide there. You don't want to go too wide a lot of place on this track. But it's nice to see we've been able to get through the first sector without any pileups. And these drivers now are going to be looking to try and break away from Bogdan. For some reason, Bogdan's tyres just didn't seem able to fire up. I'm not sure whether he got caught a little bit off guard, but even going through that first sector, the tyres didn't seem like it was all there. That gave Lillian a great run and gave Franek an opportunity to try and make an overtake as well. And I'll tell you something, they still don't exactly look nailed on, because Franek is still all over the back of them. Yeah,
Bogdan just really can't fire up his hard tyres at the moment. They do take a few laps sometimes. We've got someone in the pit lane here for a bit of an early pit stop, and he's retired in the pit lane. Clearly something's gone wrong for you and there. Fastest lap of the race goes to our race leader, and Bogdan having to do a bit of defending there. into turn one. He's covering off inside, and we've got some battles going on in front there. That's Matthews and Alexander. D-Max going wheel to wheel. You can see the difference in grip between the medium and the hards, and he's forced it all the way around the outside. You've got to respect a move around the outside there, and now he's switched to the inside. But these hard runners have been absolutely just completely taken apart by the medium runners. Look how much time they're gaining on them. This is exactly what we thought would happen. To be fair, Wilson's made some moves as well. He's up to 16th. He's ahead of 2 medium runners.
Yeah, it's very, very tough for these hard compounded tyres to be able to hold out and just break at the same point as the medium compounded tyres. But not only that as well, notice Wilson down in P16 with the 2-lap fresher hard tyres is still being able to make a little bit of progress, being able to jump 2 of the medium compound runners, is still sitting on the back of Milan Meyer. As we've got, I believe that's Ewan's Haas just pulling over to the side of Sector 1. Hopefully won't cause a safety car. We've seen a couple bugs where retiring of a pit lane can cause a safety car, but looks like it's not going to be there today as the car ends up being took off the track. But while we've got all this fighting and this massive DRS train which seems to be forming, maybe a couple of questions need to start being asked about Camille. What can Camille do in order to try and keep this lead?
Because, oh my God, sorry.
Yeah, look at them. Look at them. They're just animals. We're going so many cars
Emas has just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's actually moved himself up into P9 as well. He's ahead of another hard runner. I'd keep an eye on him. If I was going to keep an eye on anyone right now, Demas is the one to do it because he's really fighting through the pack with those medium tyres. Again, he kind of has to be honest with you. He doesn't really have much of a choice because, unfortunately, with the start of the race, maybe it was a strategy call or maybe it was because he had damage. He kind of had to make these moves out the place. And Wilson's losing pace as well. Those medium runners to the back starting to make up more ground as well. I wouldn't bet on Demas being in the top 5 in the next few laps.
Yeah, we know Demas has a pace. We saw it in qualifying earlier today. We saw it last week in the qualifying and the race. Demas has an abundance of pace, and it'll just be trying to get the most out of those tyres while they're still fresh and being able to really take up, advantage of having this softer rubber compared to the cars around. And he seems to be doing a fantastic job of it so far.
He's doing a fantastic job indeed. Really enjoying this race so far. Leo Lund here, trying to pressurise Valentino. He knows that Valentino's teammate is behind him. I wonder if there's a bit of team play going on here between the AlphaTauris against the Red Bull car. Can Leo get a move down into the main straight? No, look at some cars will be running more straight line speed than others. Luckily for Leo, it looks like Demas isn't really pressurising him for that position. Wilson has fallen it down to the back of the grid. That strategy not working at the moment for him.
As long as he stays within DRS, though, it's not a story of all she wrote. It's, there's still a bit of potential to be able to work there for Wilson. As long as the time doesn't get to 20 seconds and he doesn't end up being chucked out next to a car who's going to be on the fresh set of mediums, trying to blitz it to the end of a race, there's still potential for Wilson's very alternative strategy to try and get a bit of work done. But we can see the DRS train forming, and this is just one of the parts about this circuit, is that it doesn't really provide too many great overtaking opportunities in braking zones. A lot of it is done by having the confidence to be able to ride up to the back of a car, very similar to what we see in Leo Lund do here, and just be able to hold with him and put a little bit of pressure in and maybe try and force a mistake or just wait for that DRS straight and deploying a little bit of ERS where necessary. That'll be where the overtakes are going to be made. And I'll tell you what, he's not the only driver who's putting people under a bit of pressure. We've got Timur Zelenkovic as well in the Mercedes. Teammates up in P4. He knows he's got to get the little crank on. He knows he's going to have to start putting these medium tyres to their absolute benefit. And it looks like he'll be trying to size up a move on the Williams come next lap as well.
I've got to enjoy that name. Zelenkovic, is that how you say it?
Yes.
Great name. Absolute spectacular name. I'm sure he's going to get a spectacular overtake very soon. Tony is in the pit lane. I don't know exactly why. We'll find out in a bit. Bogdan with the fastest lap of the race. Bogdan starting to fire up his hard tyres now. And I think something that's always impressive to me with these drivers is how close they can run to each other without running into each other.
Absolutely. It's not even just the fact of running into each other. It's the trust and the faith and the ability to be able to go wheel-to-wheel racing like what we're seeing Leo Lund do to Valentino here and give each other enough space and enough respect to be able to get this level of racing going here at PSGL F3 as Leo very squeakily is able to get that overtake done around the outside. It calls it back to the inside, and Valentino ends up just losing the rear a little bit and ends up taking that car a little bit sideways. But despite pulling off an overtake in Sector 2 here,
deserves a clap. That one. That
Yeah,
was
only
spectacular.
lost 4/10 to the car in front throughout all of that. The DRS train is so strong around here. You said Slipstream is king, but just as much it is the DRS train. None of these drivers will want to be able to be the driver to trigger the undercut. They don't want to come in first, because if they come in first, they get chucked out of this DRS train, and they'll eventually start losing time no matter how much longer or how much worse the tyre deg is on the cars in front. So it'll be very interesting to see what sort of strategies these lot are going to play.
Yep, and the Alpines just pulling out of each other's slipstream there. I wonder if we're going to get to see a bit of a... It's kind of like a slingshot, basically. You basically slingshot the car behind you towards the car in front, which is basically what's going on between the Alpines at the moment. Working absolutely brilliantly. The AlphaTauri is also swapping positions there. Dimas getting in front of Valentina. Valentino, I think is how you say it. I do apologise if I'm saying your name wrong. I'm trying my best. But yeah, this right now is kind of simmered at the moment. It's going to be very simmering, this race, as most races in sim racing are. But eventually someone's going to have to pull the trigger. And who's going to do it? That's the question.
I don't know. I dread to think. I honestly dread to think. We've got Lindhard as well in P10, trying to get a little bit of pace going, trying to put a little pressure on Valentino, as Valentino might be out of rhythm slightly from the last couple laps, getting overtook and having to realistically let the quicker car at this moment in time get past, of course, Alexander on that medium compound, while the rest of these drivers are on the hard compound. But I feel like it's only just going to be a matter of time before Lindhart ends up just putting a little bit too much pressure on Valentino and forcing an error from either party. Because that's one of the things as well. Doesn't matter how much pressure you're able to put on the drivers in front, you also end up just piling a little bit more of your faults onto your driving style. And it slowly starts building up, and that's when a couple of mistakes can start creeping in. And around a track like Qatar, that's the last thing you want to happen. Oh dear. I feel like Alex has been tuck. That's unfortunate. Well, looks like we're here together, guys.
I've got it back. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I keep muting myself because I was eating food and I didn't want it to come on the mic. Basically,
Oh,
I revealed myself. I revealed my secrets now. Now everyone knows. All right.
I mean, to be fair, if you want some entertainment to watch when you're racing, it's surely the one, to be honest with you, because at the minute it's turning more into a strategic masterclass of what the Alpine team is going to be able to do with Rehards at the front, Lillian following directly right behind as well, with Camille slightly further up the road. If a safety car comes out, it could potentially spell disaster for Lillian, being the Alpine driver behind Rehards, having to do a double stack. But the way it's looking at the minute, one of the drivers is going to have to call it in, get the pit the lap earlier, and will it be enough for the undercut to be beneficial enough to try and see one of these Alpines jump Camille at the start? I ain't too sure. I don't think it is. I feel like these drivers are going to be nose to tail throughout the course of this, as Camille has a huge moment there.
That's a tag slapper.
That's more than just a tag slapper. That was that was the rear tyres trying to come off the car slapper. As Rehards makes the move up into P1, capitalising on the opportunity, and that's exactly what I mean. When these sort of mistakes start creeping in, when the pressure piles up, that's where you've got to be there to have the opportunity to strike. Lillian was slightly further back, so didn't get the same sort of run Rehards had on Camille. But
I apologise, headphone users, for my scream. I did not expect that to happen. Yeah, that was one of those moments where basically your rear tyres heat up. Of course, in this year's game, as you may all know, the graining phase is quite insane on a lot of tyres. If you don't know what the graining phase is, your tyres will eventually pick up. It's basically pick up rubber and your tyres get more and more worn. They eventually come back to you when the rubber gets worn off. But at the moment, they're all going through that phase, and some people are dealing it better than others, and Camille almost dealt with it by putting it into the pit wall. That would have been quite a tragic end, only 11 laps into this race.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first driver we saw in pit wall either so far today, would it? Had a couple of mistakes in the qualifying session, but mistakes are mistakes, and sometimes they can be like definitively costly and put you towards the back of the field, or they could just completely ruin the race and maybe break off a front wing and you're just rolling round. And might be, similar to what Tony Richet finds himself at the moment. He's pit onto hard tyres, got in a little bit of conflict earlier on. He's 30 seconds off the back of the pack, so Richet's really looking to try and find a window for, maybe a safety car to come out. But Camille doesn't look like they necessarily want to sit back in P2 here, knowing that the teamwork that the Alpine drivers have used before could potentially lead to Rihard's backing Camille up into Lillian for Lillian to try and make a pass for her.
Yeah, he can't afford that at all. Really needs to stay arguably in P2, but probably needs to get back into that first position. When you lose a position, when you're comfortably running up in P1, I wouldn't say comfortably, they were under a lot of pressure, but you know, your strategy changes now, because now you're running in P2, you weren't exactly where you're meant to be, and round the outside, not there, surely, can't make it round the outside, forces a bit wide by the Williams driver, and it looked like the Red Bull was going to have a little sneak up the inside, but thought better of it in the end.
It's when Tomas had to lift off there as well. I thought Jane on the Aston Martin behind was going to poke her nose in. It's one of those brilliant things about this track. It's very similar to the likes of Mugello or, what's the other circuit? Italian one. Italian one we did the work for.
Oh,
one Valentino Rossi got his GT3 debut.
Yeah, I know. I can't
Misano. Misano. It's just beautiful flowing track where you end up having one or two of these mistakes and it just feeds through that entire lap. It's very, very punishing, and it can lead to pretty good race moments, similar to what Camille must be thinking right now. Being able to recapture the lead, maybe didn't deploy as much battery as well. I'll tell you what, let's have a look. We've got almost full battery on Rihard's on the steering wheel there, and almost full on Camille as well. These drivers just waiting. They're waiting for this second split. They're waiting. They're more than happy to wait.
Yeah, I think he's very happy sitting in P2 right there. To be fair, taking the lead is more of a bonus. I'm sure behind they were more hoping it was going to be in the pit wall rather than into second place. But at the moment, it's Ferrari in the lead of the race with both Alpines in behind. We're on lap 13 here at the Qatar GP for PSGL F3. And it's still anyone's race here. We've had a couple of pit stops. We've had a safety car. We've had everything here in the opening rounds of this. The opening laps of this round.
Well, I suppose it's your opening round here.
Yeah, I suppose so. It is technically my opening round. But yeah, Dimas currently his progress has stopped. He's kind of sat back in and has realised that maybe he's got to drive it like an all race. We got someone in the pits. Oh, Jack's pulled the trigger. And he's in on his hard tyres. He's the first one in. What's he going to pit onto? Surely it's got to be a set of mediums.
Surely, mediums. We've got Slammer XX as well saying, let's go Jack in the chat. Maybe, you know, a little bit of code language used. Just giving us a little nudge that maybe a pit stop will take place. But Jack has had pretty good pace, being able to keep it up with these fast drivers towards the front of the field. Not bad at all from Mr. Humphries as he comes into the medium compounded tyre, as well as lefted as well. So it'd be very interesting to see where they come out in relation to Zelenkovic.
Yeah, was that pit stop from Jack a covering pit stop for Slavenkovic? Is that what it was? Because it seemed like he pitted a bit out of sort for everyone else, but obviously he's come quite far in front of the Mercedes man. One of those was sort of more of a cover pit stop. But,
yeah, there was a couple of positions in between them, but I'm sure it's definitely something to weigh on Jack's decision making to come into the pits there. Very wise to do before you end up getting a driver like Zelenkovic in front of you, who defends very much so like a lion.
Oh, we have our first track limits penalty.
And
it's taken us this long.
I don't know why, but I don't feel like it'll be the last one. I really don't.
Not when everyone starts pushing. These guys right now, if you don't know what everyone's doing right now, this is what we call the saving phase of a GP. Everyone is currently just chilling, just taking their time. They know the race will come to them. We're going to have one in the pits. Leo's in as well. Everyone has decided that it's time for the pit stops. Dimas is in as well. Yep, it's all triggering on lap 14.
That was a little close to a call there from Leo. I would not be too big of a fan, but you can see the Red Bull double stack. Tomas will not be happy with that, but it's not exactly as if Leo could hold the field up behind because the cars were too close behind him. He couldn't slow down, he couldn't speed up. It's a tough one, but both of them are going to come out on the same life compounded tyre, if you get what I mean. But you'll see Jack Humphries and also Timo on that slightly older set of medium tyres, but you can see the gain that Zelenkovic has made up. He's gone from fighting around P10 to being able to really close in on the back of what was P6.
Yeah, I think undercut, as we've always said in this year's game, I don't know what it is about the undercut this year. I don't know if it's the tyres or what.
Scary quick.
It's scarily quick. Every race I've commentated on this year, this year's F1 game, the undercut has worked fantastically well.
I'll tell you the one time it didn't work well. Last season in F6 at Silverstone when the rain came out. Tried to get a cheeky undercut and it started raining and didn't necessarily work out too well for him. But so far in Qatar, it doesn't look like it's raining. It still looks very much like a desert. But that'll be Camille coming in, Lillian coming in, Rehards. We know Rehards did a very similar thing last week where he was able to keep out and not lose too much time. And I do believe he'll still get the DRS because of our detection point just being before they have to pull into the pit lane. So it'll be down to being able to try and make the most out of this lap and really push in the car. So I think it would only be fair if we pull up the telemetry to see how much of a battery Rehards will be burning just to try and ensure this.
Is Jack coming out in basically what is net P1?
Maybe. I'll tell you what. Let's have a little swap over here.
He is.
Let's see. The drivers are all going to be coming out.
It's going to be close.
It's very close, but it is net P1 so far.
It is net P1.
We see.
What? They're going to lose.
Oh dear. Camille seems to be really
down to 7.
It was what, 2 laps extra? 3 for Zelenkovic? And losing out tremendously from that. But you got to remember, the tyre life will come back towards the dying stage of the race. Once the tyres start going off the end of the cliff, that'll be when Camille and the likes of Bogdan will really be able to try and push and make some more gains. Yes, but hello, yes. Dimas is right on the back with those tires already pre-warmed up, trying to get onto the back of Camille. Now, surely this will be the time that Rehards is going to have to respond to this. Surely
they have to. The fact that they are now battling down in like 6th and 7th from this undercut range. Get those new tires on. Get yourself in for a new pit stop. Wilson, I'm sure, will follow them in as well. So that will leave Mr. Jack in the lead of the Qatar GP.
I don't think so, because Wilson has already done his pit stop, hasn't he?
Of course he has.
14 seconds in the lead of this race, and he's just going to have to look after these tyres for the next, what? 12
there's no
laps?
way.
13 laps?
Oh
Wilson
my God.
Hall might have made a strategy call of a lifetime.
Wait, where are the Alpines going to come out? Oh my God.
Far. Very far, as we see Franek looking like he's going to be losing quite a bit here as well. Very unfortunate, because we know Franek has the pace, and that was very, very close to the rear of that McLaren. Not a fan of that one, guys. Not a fan at all. But something else I really want to point out here as well. Leo is right on the back of Jack already, but Camille's just slightly out of that DRS range. It's going to take Camille 1 or 2 laps or a little bit of that ERS usage to close back into the DRS and really start pushing. But at the minute, it looks like the big losers from this so far have been Alpine.
Yeah, have been Alpine 100%. You've got Lillian back down in, what, 16th? You've got in 9th. It's not gone well for them at all. Dimas has actually basically gained what he lost. He's still up in P6. He hasn't lost anything from his 2-stop strategy. And Wilson at the moment leads this race 12 seconds between himself and Jack. This is up to Jack now to push. The other thing as well, Leo is right behind him as well. Leo's really pushing for that position. If you're Leo and Jack, you've got to think to each other, right, guys, give us a second here. Let's go catch the guys actually leading the Grand Prix, and then we can focus on racing in a bit. Because these two, if they just start battling, surely it's going to be Wilson's day, because they're just going to keep fighting each other.
Maybe, but if they also end up swapping positions down this main straight, they'll be able to trade the DRS and slowly start reeling in Wilson. They just need to not fight each other through the critical parts of the circuit, the times where you can lose out big, going through turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. Those sort of places you don't want to be going too wide. As long as they follow each other very, very closely, they won't be missing out too much. But it does look like Jack is slightly on the back foot, as Camille has caught right up to the back on those fresher medium compounded tyres. It's getting a bit close here, isn't it? It's getting a little bit too warm, but Leo is closing rapidly in on Wilson. Jack is just sitting there slightly further behind, following in as well. As I believe we've just got Bogdan in the background there as well, having a slight incident going through turn 6 there on the exit. Probably maybe just getting a slight little tap there on the exit. But he's been able to recover back up to P15. Still ahead of Lillian as well. So not everything was lost there from the ET8 driver.
Yeah, I think it'd be unfortunate. I don't exactly saw what happened. I think it was in turn 6, maybe a dive up the inside from, was it Rehards? I think it was up the inside. Am I saying that name right? I feel like I'm saying it wrong.
Rehards,
but Rehards. There's a silent E, that's why I can't hear it. But yeah, it's going well for him at the moment, up in P8. Another time penalty for the same driver. Lefted is not looking so right at the moment. No, that's an awful joke. But we have a position
Stop.
change
No.
as Camille makes their way up into third place, ahead of Jack, who is just losing positions at the moment, as Sixton is trying to battle with Slavenkovic. I do apologise for names. I feel like I'm butchering every single one of them.
That's alright. We'll blame dyslexia for that one. But
Yeah.
Camille seems to be on an absolute charge up at front of the field. But the person Camille was racing for so long in this race, Rihard, still in P8 with a lap fresher tyres, seems to be really closing in on the back of Tima here. You can see the distance being gained in the braking zone, being able to brake a couple meters later, allows Rihard to really put a little bit of pressure on the back of Tima, and Tima's red light is flashing, indicating he is below 10% ERS, and we saw Rihard's was before the pit stop. He was at 60%, he was happily vibing, but surely if you're Rihard's, you've got to start thinking about making this overtake sooner rather than later. The longer you wait, the further Camille can get up the road, and the further they can push this lead out and really try and close up to the back of Wilson. Because I feel like once they end up catching up to Wilson, Wilson might be feeling a bit like a sitting duck.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go for the move there in that corner. I did hold my breath, but luckily decided against it. Surely it's just going to be a simple move down into turn one. That flashing light of Slavenkovic is horrible, because you know the moment that they're just going to come brushing past you. I wouldn't say it's going to be a brush past. That Mercedes has got some straight line of speed on it this afternoon, because he did have to dump a bit of battery to get in front, only just in front there. But once again, respect from those two drivers, just how close they can race without hitting each other. It's now all or nothing for him. He tries to change.
You could just see on this broadcast camera how close they all are. You can see almost the entire top 10 on the one screen. In fact, you can see the entire top 10 on the one screen, other than Wilson, who was currently just checking out. But it does look like Wilson will be caught before the end of this race. About 1.2 seconds per lap is being gained by Leo. So it'll be very close towards the end of this race, but it will probably be in the favour of Leo, Camille, Jack, and Dimas to really try and mount a challenge on Wilson here. But so far, Wilson's just trying to hang in there, and Rihard is doing everything in his power to try and shift through this field and really close back up to the rivals before the pit stops came out.
Yeah, he's really trying to make those moves. You saw that camera angle was spectacular. I normally complain about camera angles like that, but it was so good to see how close they were to each other through that section. He's surely got to make another move down the main straight here. He's pushing so hard through that final corner. Basically, he almost took that flat through that corner, which is what a hell of a job to do so. But here we go, down the main straight now. This is surely his opportunity to move up into 6th place. He's going to move to the right-hand side of the McLaren, but he hasn't really got the run on him, but now he does. He's getting slipstream from cars in front. There's positions changing as well.
Jumping
Camille,
up.
oh, but down the inside. Who's that?
Franek sent an absolute worldie of a dive bomb. And the goal.
It's Ocon. It's Ocon Perez again. It's happened again.
Spun. Oh, that's surely Rihard's chance at being able to win this race. Gone down the toilet there. Trying to go 3 wide into turn 2 is never going to work. We saw it on lap 1 and we saw it here again. Thankfully, no drivers are in the barrier, but this really indicates that Franek means business going for moves like that, thinking that Franek has got the opportunity here. Definitely have the pace. That'll be the question. Has any of the drivers from that instant got any damage? Doesn't look like it on Franek's car, but that is very unfortunate there from the Alpine Rihards. Had such a good run. Oh.
That was Perez, Ocon, and who else? It was Stroll, wasn't it? The 3 that collide. Magnussen, sorry. Yeah, that was those 3 all over again.
Let's just bully Josh's favourite drivers, then. Go on, say something about Charles. Come on. Get it out system. Come on.
No one's favourite driver is Lance Stroll. I refuse to believe it.
All right, we're having words afterwards. But enough about favourite drivers. Because at the minute...
7 laps to go. Oh my god, he's going to do it.
It does look like it. The pace of the drivers, they've been squabbling a little bit going down into turn 1 every so often, and it does feel like they are just losing it ever so more, just lap after lap. As Alexander Dimas going for a move around the outside, it's slightly banked that corner, so you can try and get a better run, but then you're forced to the inside for turn 2, and then that'll swing it back around to the outside for turn 3, and you will get a worse run coming out of turn 3, so he decides just to sit back a little bit and defend a bit from Franek, but Franek looks like he is on an absolute charge trying to get past this poor little AlphaTauri, Alexander Dimas.
He's going to do it up the inside.
Oh,
no.
he will.
Oh, he
will.
does! He's
a very late move again from Franek. Elbows out, kept it nice and fair. A little rub in his race and a little wheel banging, but it does look like Franek has got ahead of Alexander Dimas on the 2-lap fresher medium tyres. Now, Jack looks like he's going to be next on the hit list with those 8-lap medium tyres compared to Franek's 5-lap old tyres. Franek definitely has the pace in order to try and really make some sort of moves going through the rest of this, trying to catch back up to the teammate. We know, Jan said earlier in chat, Franek definitely has the pace, had a 0.6 potential in the qualifying. Couldn't quite live up to it in the qualifying, but qualifying isn't where the points are made in the races, and Franek is doing everything they need to do so far.
Yep, exactly. The points are handed out on a Sunday, unless it's a sprint weekend, but it's not a sprint weekend, it's a Sunday. So this is where the points are handed out.
It's a Thursday, what do you mean? The points are always handed out on a Thursday.
Of course it is. Of course it is. It's a Thursday.
Alex is having
I've lost in the head. It's gone crazy. But yeah, Franek is absolutely enjoying this right now. Also, that move, both those moves into turn 1 and into turn 6 was spectacular. Obviously, the turn 1 can be debated depending on who you're asking, but it was late, it was brave, it was bold, and he made it happen. And now he's got a real chance to at least finish on the podium here. That gap at the front, 6.8 seconds between Wilson and the man who was on pole, Camille, in second. Oh, I don't know how to call this race.
It does feel like Leo has kind of understood the memo of what Camille is trying to do, just trying to pull away just a little bit. Leo doesn't seem like he's too fussed about trying to fight over this position for P2. They know they've got to catch Wilson, and I feel like they've sort of sensed it, but they're not catching Wilson in time, so they're having to push very, very hard. But Jack as well. Jack doesn't look like he minds too, but Jack's very happy sitting there in P4 and putting the pressure on Leo, while Leo's just trying to take it a little easier on the tyres, just to ensure that those tyres are going to be in perfect operating conditions for the dying embers of this race, because that's when they're going to be able to strike Wilson at the most vulnerable position, because those tyres must be screaming out in pain. 20 laps on the hards.
What about people's dash? Can we see their fuel?
Oh.
Is there any way of seeing people's fuel on dash?
Yeah, we can have a look. You'll notice on the left-hand side of the gear, that big number 5, which is going to turn into a 6 very shortly. You've got that little fuel pump icon. So, I suppose it's only fair if we go through the top 5 here. Let's go back to Jack here. So you can see, still no fuel warnings. Leo, no fuel warnings. Camille, no fuel warnings. And Wilson, no fuel warnings. What about Franek? Franek still doesn't have any as well. But you can see the variation of the ERS between these top 5. It's absolutely evident which ones are pushing the hardest in order to try and keep their position, which ones know where their tyres are at this point in time. Jack on those 10-lap old medium tyres, he'll be starting to feel a little bit of the effects of the aging, while Franek on the 7-lap mediums will feel a little bit more comfortable. But it's getting to that point where the tyres are starting to find an equilibrium, starting to find a balance between the age of the tyres, where the difference in pace is going to be so much less than it was at the start of the stints between the lap 4 old and the lap 1 old tyres. It'll just slowly keep building, and they'll keep getting more and more like that, and then that's when we're going to have to start seeing Franek make some of these moves, these very bold moves into the likes of turn 6 and turn 1 again.
I assume Wilson's been, well, he's been using ERS, but I assume he saved some up for when eventually this pack catches him to battle, because as we know, catching is one thing, passing is another. Even with the power of DRS and the slipstream in this game, and the abundant of tyre differential they'll have, Wilson's not going to give it up easy, is he? Let's be honest. He's going to try and battle this one, but you could see them now. They're both on the same straight. It's the Jaws music is playing. He's closing in ever so quickly at the moment. And also, you got to remember, if Camille does catch Wilson at the moment, it looks like that's going to happen. There is going to be a scramble between everyone trying to get through Wilson and trying to go for the race lead. If this all happens on the last lap, talk about fireworks in Stoke, there's going to be fireworks in Qatar right now.
I'll tell you something, it will definitely be boiling up to that. As we can see, the time has come down to 4.5 seconds. Going for a late move to the inside. Once again, Franek has found his favourite position to get these overtakes done. But unfortunately, Jack was able to keep it around the outside for Franek's sake, and Franek just might have lost a little bit too much time there. And that puts Dimas right on the back of Franek as well. If Franek keeps going for these moves and isn't as successful as he has been previously, there could be ample opportunity for the likes of Dimas and Alda behind just to be able to try and sneak themselves past.
it's one of those it's one of those places where you can make a move, but you've got it. He's fully committed, clearly, but it's a brilliant defense from Jack to defend into that corner. And now the gap, 4.1 seconds. It's not closing as quickly as I thought in these last few laps. I wonder if people are struggling with maybe their tyre wear is struggling now, but surely no one's struggling more than Wilson. He's done those tyres for 22 laps out of the 25, and he's still leading here at Qatar. But look how close they are now in terms of at least visually.
It's not far away at all, I can tell you that much, and I believe Leo knows it as well. He closing back up to the rear of Camille. He's more than happy now to sit about a 10th behind, just trying to pressure Camille into maybe a little bit of a mistake, just so he's able to get that opportunity through, be able to secure P2, and then look to go on the charge against Wilson. But you can even see they're on the same straight when we get out of turn 3 as well. This gap is closing very, very quickly as Rehard ends up picking up a penalty
he's
as well.
Rehard. He's down at the bottom. I thought he was near the front. I was just like, oh my god, it's going to kick off again. But oh my god, look how close they are now. Alfa Romeo versus a Ferrari. Here we go. What year is it? 1953. But it's in a bit. See where
we were winning races back then.
I know.
But there could be a chance for Camille to end up picking up a win here. Deserved a better result than what they got last week around Suzuka. This could be redemption for Camille if they're able to catch up to the back of Wilson, but Wilson will definitely not make this pass easy. Holding out of those hard tyres, I'm sure he'll be doing everything in his power just to keep this powder. But you can look at it, Wilson had a slight moment going a little wide.
No!
Is that a puncture for Wilson?
It might be.
I think it is.
A puncture. And all his hard work collapses. With a few laps to go, literally collapses with a few laps to go. We can see on board with him if he's got a puncture.
He does.
With Wilson. He does. Is it front? Where is it? Front right?
Front left.
No, front left. Oh. It was one lap too many. And now the race really opens up because everyone realises it's no longer the chase Wilson game. It's the let's chase the winner. And who's going to be winning this one? Any of the top, 11 are still within a chance of winning this Grand Prix.
Especially if we have any sort of shenanigans like we had last week on the final lap, where they're going 2 wide, 3 wide going into the couple corners. It's all up for grabs, especially we've saw the safety car come out already. It might be a little too late for a safety car to come out here again, but there's still a lot of potential. If these drivers get a little bit too rough, a little bit too much wheel banging, I mean, we saw it before with cars going wide, picking up penalties. Cars pushing a little too hard at picking up penalties. The track limits are here for a reason, and they can be absolutely downright vicious to these drivers. But it'll be all down to Leo being able to try and close back up to the back of Camille. Jack is doing everything in his power to hold on to that P3, but we know Frenek is on the freshest tyres, and Frenek doesn't seem afraid to make the move anywhere around this circuit, to be quite honest with you.
No, Frenek will make an opportunity wherever he sees fit, but at the moment Lund is really on the back because now complete mindset change. It's a change to battle Camille for the win, not for P2 on this occasion. Oh, a penalty from Frenek, and it's 3 seconds, and that will end any opportunity of even a points finish inside the top 10. And he moves to the right hand side to defend the AlphaTauri of Dimas, who looks to go all around the outside. Dimas is still going to wheel in. But he's not going to let him go through. It's a little rubbing and racing, as we say here in PSGL. But at the moment, we're on the penultimate lap here for Qatar, and it's all kicked off with Wilson getting his puncture and everyone deciding this is the opportunity to win the Grand Prix. And Frank he's got nothing to lose now. Yeah,
Frank surely has to just go for moves, try and help his team out wherever he can, because at this moment in time, he will be finishing outside the points. But I just really want to point out as well, we do have a yellow flag on the circuit, and that is for Tony Roche. And I believe it's another puncture,
he's got a puncture as well
on the front right, and that could be disastrous in case any sort of debris would come off. But hopefully he's able to keep that car nice and steady and drive it all the way back to the pits without being able to pick up any extra damage. And is probably going to go on to the soft compound tire and just try and steal the fastest lap away from some of these other drivers. But so far, it's going to be all eyes on Camille and Leo and Jack and Franek and Dimas and Alder and Lillian. The list keeps going and going, and this fight for this lead keeps going further and further into this race. It's expanding ever so greatly, but Leo looks like he'll be trying to capitalise on this opportunity going down into someone. He's in the slipstream. He had the DRS open. He's going to make that move nice and easily before even the braking zone. Don't feel like Camille was too afraid to let that one happen.
Well, it's the last lap.
67% ERS as well. There is a potential going down into turn 4. We might even see another Ferrari try and make a move in turn 6.
he's got to make the moves whenever he can now, because that was the last time they're going to go down that main straight, unless it's going to be literally to the line, because obviously in this year's version of the game, the finish line is a lot further down the main straight than it is in real life now. Oh, is it going to be another heartbreak for the Ferrari driver as they lose out to a Red Bull once again? Josh is getting scenes of of his daydreams, of all his nightmares coming in real life. But Camille gives some hope to Ferrari by picking up what could be a well-deserved victory. It was so close to track limits there. You could see he's moving it on the edge. But now through the final sector, it's going to be full push out in 8th gear as well, but he shifts down to 7th. He's got ARS, he's using everything they can to push through the final corners, and it could literally be a run to the line for Camille. They've got to have to get one hell of an exit out of the final corner if they've got any chance of making this move stick. But now, round the final corner we go. The Ferrari versus the Red Bull. It's a race to the line between the two, and Leo will pick up the win to the line. Leo wins the Qatar Grand Prix. Camille in 2nd. Jack holds on to 3rd place. Dimas in 4th. Matthew in 5th. Lillian in 6th. Slavenkovic in 7th. Valentino in 8th. Jane in 9th. Milan in 9th. I think that's position gone wrong, and Bogdan is in 10th. Wow, what a race.
Oh my words. 2 punchers in the one race here at PSGL F3. My word, that was something else. We're going to just stay on board with these guys here, see if they're going to be able to set a fastest lap. See Rihard's red light is flashing there. It doesn't look too promising, but we're going to have to wait and see as Wilson ends up setting that fastest lap so far. Rihard's and then Lindhart ends up coming across. Will Wilson have enough just to be able to try and snatch that fastest lap back? Didn't look like it to me. Oh, I'll tell you something. You have close racing and then you have races like that. My word. That was something else.
Well, let's be honest. Slavenkovic gets driver of the day. I don't know who to give driver of the day to on this one. Oh, what a race. But yeah, here is your podium. Yeah, that is up in the air. Obviously, tell us in chat who you think deserves driver of the day. You know, my heart does go out to Wilson. He made the alternative strategy almost work, but those tyres just were a bit too short on life. And, you know, we've seen punctures around this circuit before. It's not surprising that it happened. But there we go. There's your winner, Mr. Leo, Mr. Lund. And he is picking up a, I've got to say, well-deserved victory.
Yeah, it definitely was. Obviously, had that great race with the likes of Rihard's, Lillian in the first split as well with the Ferrari drivers putting so much pressure on. But I feel like a special shout out has to go to Jack Humphreys as well.
Oh yeah,
being able to hold on for so long in the slightly older tyres. But I'll tell you what, you give us a rundown through the race. I did the qualifying.
Well, Leo Lund picks up a victory from 8th on the grid to win 25 points, but it's not that because we have a different system for PSGL. It's a different point system for your win. Camille in 2nd, and then Jack in 3rd. Dimas from 13th to 4th, and Matthew from 14th to 5th. Both Williams having a great race. Lillian finishes in 6th. Slavenkovic in 7th. Jane in 8th. Then we got Maya in 9th, and Bogdan round out your top 10. And then we got Rihard's, Lindhart, Wilson, and Valentina, Frankie, Richie?
Tony Richie, yep.
Richie?
Oh
my God. Thomas? This is Thomas in my head.
Tumas Leminen.
Tumas, Lefted, and Ewan is your 19. And, of course, Ivan, who was unfortunately out on the first lap. He missed most of the fun in that race. But, yeah, there's your 20 drivers. And, what a race.
I'll tell you what. George put it in chat, cracking result, and I cannot disagree. That was a cracking race and a cracking result all over. But, of course, here at PSGL, we wouldn't have been able to bring you this race without a special mention from our sponsor at GT Omega, who put all this together, get everything working for us, and to be quite honest, without them, we wouldn't be here. So I feel like it's only fair to chuck you over to GT Omega for a little quick ad. Boy, oh boy, what a race. Unfortunately, we won't be running any interviews today. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, a little bit sick. Alex has some very important work to be getting cracking on with as well. Very unfortunate, but a very special shout out to all the drivers who competed today. You all did fantastic, and I couldn't be more proud of you guys. Flying the flag for F3 and doing absolutely brilliant, exact same as last week. It was very, very good. So yeah, honestly, I don't know what else to say. That was a brilliant race. It was cracking. We'll be back with interviews next week. I'll tell you something. Maybe in the week as well, if we can try and grab hold of one or two of the drivers, ask their opinions, and maybe have a little pre-race interview just to see how they're going to feel about jumping into the race next week, which of course is around Hungaroring. I'll really quickly just show you the calendar one more time so you guys know where it is. Don't forget on Monday as well, we do have the PS side of the season 35 at PSGL here. Where they will be going around Qatar on the PlayStation systems, which will hopefully create just as good racing as we saw here tonight. Didn't let up Monday just gone, so it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do. But we do have Hungary straight after for us back on the PC. So it'll be very interesting to see which sort of drivers are going to be able to carry the momentum forward and really keep it going, because so far it's been absolutely fantastic so far in this season.
Yep, it's been amazing. I'm glad I was here for this race. Obviously, I will try and be here for all the races afterwards with Josh. Yep. We'll both be here for the rest of F3. So, once again, do apologise for any names I've mispronounced. I will get around to.
We'll get you there.
I will get around to reading them out, and then I will know everyone's name. But yeah, it's been a great race. Thanks, Josh. For having me for this race.
Thank you for coming along this time. It's been absolutely lovely, Alex.
Yeah, I know. I do apologise for last week, but you know, we're here for Hungary next weekend. Yes. Sorry, not every time. Next Thursday. There you go. Hungary.
7
I will get that right as well. 7 p.m. live here on PSGL. Yes. Season 35, and absolutely. It'll be round 3 for F3.
I'll tell you what. I feel like after that, if we've got that little break, we might have to do some number crunching and see just about the average qualifying position. So, because so far, those Ferraris have looked very, very quick in qualifying.
Well, they always do, don't they?
Cavill looked very quick in the race here as well. A bit unfortunate around Suzuka, but I feel like there could be a very, very large battle for the title this season with the drivers all so close together.
Well, that's what we want.
Exactly.
That's what we want.
I don't feel like any driver would complain about having a 6-way title fight. Tell you what, let's bring it back to the good old days where we had those 6-way championship fights between all the drivers.
You don't enjoy a one-man title fight these days?
No.
No?
No. I stopped enjoying them after 2004, surprisingly. But
oh, well, that's crazy. Who knew?
Who saw that one?
Crazy. But who knew? The Ferrari fanboy.
Exactly. But thank you guys for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to commentate this race for you. Thank you to Jess, Connor. Thank you for George, Richie in the chat as well. Just coming and dropping by, saying hello. It's been lovely to have you guys all here. Thank you to everyone in the chat who was talking with us as well. It's been lovely communicating with you all. Don't forget to join the Discord at PSGL. Come and join us. Come and join the community. Come vibe with us. Hang out. Watch some races together. It'll be absolutely fantastic. And I look forward to seeing the rest of you around. But until next Thursday, I'll see you then. Bye.
See ya.
He's got the inside, up here is through, on the left-hand side, hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now, to the last couple of corners now, his finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.